my name's Elise, and welcome to Earth Alive. This winter, I went for a walk in the woods on an unseasonably warm day. At first, I was just in awe of the sudden temperature change, but after I got a ways into the woods, something changed that got me to thinking.
It is February 24th, early afternoon, and it's like 72 degrees out in Massachusetts. Okay, a week ago there was a foot of snow on the ground. This is kind of freakishly warm. It feels great and all, but it's February.
Drip, drip, drippy, drippy, drip, 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 drippy, drippy. I can hear the creek flowing, I can smell the sap boiling, I can feel the sun shining. Drip, drip, drip.
Okay, I want you to take this in with me for a minute. Over here is where I was just walking, right? There's not really any snow left on the ground except for maybe a couple patches here and there. And then there's this stream, and on the other side, there's still some snow. In fact, as I walk across the bridge here and enter the area with the snow, I feel a significant drop in the temperature, especially like right here as I'm walking onto the snow.
I had found a new microclimate. That's where something, or usually multiple things, about a small area change its climate compared to the bigger picture climate in that region. Think about how it's extra hot in the middle of a parking lot on a sunny day because of the heat radiating off of the dark asphalt. Or how a ravine with a stream running through it will be relatively cool and moist on that same sunny day because of the combined effects of shade from the trees and the fact that cold air actually flows downhill, as well as some effects from the plants and water that we'll get into in a few minutes. There are a ton of different factors that can affect microclimate, and any number of them might be at play at any given place and time.
Now, we can talk about why there's still snow over here. I mean, one hypothesis I would immediately come up with is that there's a lot of hemlocks, these thick evergreens in the understory here, which would provide shade, so less snow melting. We were in a really open maple forest back there, and there's, maples in the canopy here, but back there they're sugaring, and so the understory hasn't really been allowed to grow in, I think, is what's going on. Whereas here you got lots of these. Although, interestingly, right underneath the hemlocks tends to actually not have snow right now. I'm guessing that's because the snow builds up not as thick right under them to begin with because they're so woolly. They deflect the snow over to the sides of them. Another thought is that this is actually on the somewhat shaded side of, it's not a big hill, but it is an incline. Like, I'm facing the sun right now, and it's early afternoon, I'm facing a little bit west of south. This is basically the north side of an incline. So it gets less direct sun. The angle that the slope is at, and the sun is where the sun is coming from, it's not as direct.
What I was not so eloquently trying to get at back there is that aspect can affect microclimate. That is, both how steep a slope is, as well as how it's angled compared to the path of the sun. Here in the northern hemisphere, the sun sweeps around to the south of us each day, so its rays hit north-facing slopes at a lower angle than they do flat ground or south-facing slopes, and that spreads out the sun's energy. This is the same principle that creates winters and summers in temperate and polar regions.
So we're at the top of the slope here, and the snow keeps going. I still think that that north side has some role to play, but over here, again, we've got a real thick understory of hemlocks. Over there, it's clear again. That's under a white pine grove with a relatively clear understory. So the biggest pattern that I'm seeing with all of this is that where there's a clear understory, there's no snow, but where there's at least hemlocks and other things growing in the understory, there tends to be snow, although maybe not right at the base of each tree. I thought of another thing, and that's the cooling property of evapotranspiration. So as the hemlock needles respire, they lose water into the air. That's water going from a liquid form to a gaseous form. In order to make that jump from liquid to gas, takes a lot of heat energy that gets locked up just in the gaseous state, essentially, of the water. It can't be sensed temperature-wise at that point, even though it is heat energy. So that cools down the area around it. That's why forests are always cooler than the city right next to them, because there's more evaporation happening out of those plants. Transpiration, it technically is at that point.
So in summer, with all the leaves out, there is a lot of evapotranspiration happening in forests, which, along with their shade, makes them cooler than areas with less photosynthesis happening and more direct sunlight reaching the ground. But here, I had found an area within the forest that was cooler than other parts of the same forest. So what's going on here? Well, as you may already be thinking, this was in February, when deciduous trees have no leaves and are not photosynthesizing. But evergreen plants, such as the eastern hemlock tree, have a different adaptation to wintry climates. Because they keep their needles year-round, they can keep photosynthesizing. And whenever a slightly warmer day comes along, that photosynthesis can immediately speed up. And whenever a plant is photosynthesizing, it is also transpiring, which cools down the air around it due to evaporative cooling. This, of course, is in addition to providing some shade, which helps to keep things cool and slow down the snow's melting.
As you retain the snow longer, there's also evaporation happening off of the snow, further cooling the area. And that would account for the noticeable, significant drop in temperature coming into this area. There's just a lot more water evaporating out of the understory and the snow that then is still there because it's cooler already.
So the hemlocks and the snow were creating a negative feedback loop in that part of the forest. Negative feedback loops are stabilizing, helping the ecosystem to resist change. I was a little sloppy with my words back there in the woods. Instead of cooling the area down, I should have said that the evapotranspiration, evaporation, and melting were keeping the area cool. Most of the winter was cold and snowy. Like I said before, that week there was a rapid warm-up. The hemlocks in the understory helped to buffer that area against that sudden change, making the warming more gradual there despite the input of heat from all around it. The presence of snow enhanced this stabilizing effect, adding to that negative feedback loop. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Earth Alive. Have you ever noticed any microclimates? How about the cooling effects of evaporation? I'd love to hear all about your observations down in the comments. And if you'd like to see more videos about life on Earth, please subscribe and I'll see you next time. And until then, get outside and see it for yourself.
I can hear the coming out, and I can smell it coming on, and I can feel the sunshine dry, drum, drip. I can hear the coming out, and I can smell it coming on, and I can feel the coming out dry, drum, drip. I can hear the creek flow, and I can smell the sappy drill, and I can feel the sunshine and drip, drip, drippy, drippy. I can hear the coming out, and I can smell the sappy drippy, and I can feel the sunshine and drip, drip, drippy, drippy, drips are coming out, drip, drippy, drippy, drips are coming out to find some drippy, drippy, drips.